Hi friends, it's Becky, and the other day I made both of these necklaces in a video. It was a late night beading with Becky video, and I said I would do earrings and a bracelet the next day, and then I didn't do them the next day because life. So I decided to pull these out and grab some more of the beads and make those today. Now this one I made using the Boughs and Branches Bargain Bead Box. Is what I have left. Still a ton of beads. I can do a lot of stuff with that. But I pulled out what I'm going to be using to make just a really simple drop earring to go with this simply strung necklace. It looks more complicated than it is, mostly because I shared in that other video this little technique for wrapping the donut with beading wire instead of craft wire. And it came out really well. I'm really happy with it. And so I'm going to be doing not the same thing, but I'm going to be using a lot of the same beading pattern on a bracelet. So I pulled out the same beads that I used, these dark beads, these light beads, and some spacers. I'm going to incorporate this into the bracelet. It'll probably be a focal on that. Love that ring. And then the same clasp that I used on these. For the bracelet, I am going to be stringing onto the same color of beading wire. It's this fluorite color. It's this nice mossy green color that goes really well and blends into everything. And then for the earrings, I've just got a head pin and an ear wire, and that's all I'm really adding to it. And then I grabbed the one of these little mermaid glass beads to just give it some lightness, some fun, and a little more dimension. Since it is in the necklace, it'll go. So that's what I did for that one. I'm gonna just move these out of the way while I talk about the next one. For this one, I used beads that came in the first version of the Boughs and Berries companion bundle, and companion bundles sell out really fast before you come asking how to get it or say I can't find it. There's a reason you can't find it. It's because it doesn't exist as a bundle. Some of the individual items may still be available for purchase. I know for a fact that the red Christmas tree beads were sold out the last time I checked. So I'm sorry about that. But if you got a different version of the companion bundle, you may have different beads in your companion bundle. I know when they sell out, they'll sometimes do a second version or even a third version for the really popular ones. So the best way to find out when a companion bundle is going to be offered is to sign up for a newsletter from Bargain Bead Box Bargains. That's the sister store for Bargain Bead Box. I'm just moving those out of the way so they're not sliding around over there. But in the video, and I will link that video in the description below if you missed it, I made a necklace using those beads and doing a beaded chain where I made little links in a chain with beads on them, and I also used these charms as connectors and as links. I love an alternate use for things or using things in a different way than you thought. So for the bracelet, I'm also going to be using them as connectors, but in the earrings, I went ahead and used them as charms, just like this. Focus, there we go. So I'm going to be doing those with y'all today. And for that, I'm just going to be using, where did it go? Some 20 gauge wire, and I chose the pewter color of wire because it looks really, really great with this antique silver color of finding that we've gotten that. And then for the bracelet, I just grabbed a pretty large lobster claw because I was out of this kind of clasp. That way it'll fit no matter what. All right, so let's move these a little bit more out of the way again. Just get those out of sight. And I'm gonna go over my tools. I am using round nose pliers, flush cutters, and chain nose pliers for my wire working, and I have an extra little bit that I have been using as my little ace in the hole while I'm making these simple loop links, and that is a one-step looper. I don't use the looper for both ends of my loops and my links. Man, I'm having trouble talking today. I don't use it for both ends, but I use it for one end and it makes it go faster. There's less strain on my wrists and it's very easy to use. For this one, because I'm going to be doing a lot of just bead stringing on it, I've got a magical crimper. It's my favorite way to crimp because you don't need a bead cover, a crimp cover, or really anything else. You don't need wire guardians or anything like that. So I like using this. It makes it easy. It's like my one step for me. It makes it easy for me. So that is what we're going to be doing. And I'm trying to decide which one I should do first. Why don't we do the links first? Because that way I can move these tools out of the way to do the bead stringing. And bead stringing is so nice and easy. It'll be a nice way to like calm down a little bit after doing the linking. Although linking can be really fun. All right, so I've got most of my links made. I did save out a couple of the beads to share and show you how I do it. I've been thinking of these as cranberries and these as hollyberries, so that's what I'm going to be calling them. The bright red ones are my hollyberries, and these dark ones are my cranberries, because it is Boughs and Berries. So I'm just going to take my wire, and I like to straighten it. You notice there's some kinks in it by just pinching it between my thumbs and running it along like that. It also warms up the wire when you do it with your hands. You could use nylon gel pliers to straighten it, but when you do that, it also tends to work harden the wire a little bit. So if I can get the kinks out just with my fingers, I prefer to do that. All right, I'm gonna just pop these on here. I like to work off the spool for the first little bit when I'm making links. And if I'm doing a whole bunch of links, I'll just put all the beads on all at once in the order that they're going to go. And since these links contain some bead caps, I'm going to put the bead caps around the bead that they're going to be hugging. It's like a nice little hug. Our little guy deserves a little love. And then the one-step looper. I did a full review of these in earlier when I first got them, and I do like them. There's a couple of drawbacks. One is because you've got this space between your bead and where the loop is made. Your links aren't that tight. You've got like a little bit of wiggle room and your bead will slide around on there. It's not a huge deal. It's definitely something that you can live with. But that's why I do my second step. After I do the first loop with this, I'll do my second loop with this so that I can get it a little bit tighter. But the first loop, it's a great way to do, like especially if you've got like 20 of these to do. You just put your wire right in. It doesn't have to go through this hole. As long as it extends past the end of this bit here, it will cut it flush. It'll bend it up. And then you can leave it like this, or I like to bend it back a little bit in order to center my loop. It's a little movement like that to center your loop. And then I'll give it a little bit of a smush with just some flat pliers. That'll work. And so if you do that, that makes your first loop. And again, to make sure you're not using up too much of your wire, I'll usually measure about a finger's width down from here to cut. And my next step will be to figure out which way my loop is. This is my cut end, so I'm just going to pinch both the bead and my loop and bend it towards the same direction that that cut end goes in. It's just so that the loops will go in opposite directions. But you can do it in any way you want for that. And that's the first one. I'm not going to finish the second loop until after I've done these, and that way I don't have to switch around between tools too much. So this one's a little bit faster. I'm not going to be talking it through as much as the other. Finger width. And give it a little bit. Again, I pinch the bead and then just push it with your finger. You can use pliers to do this part if you need to. Especially if you can't get a good leverage with it. Pliers will help with it. Let's see. I could do like 50 links just like this, and it goes fast when you do that. So let's move these guys out of the way. I'm going to keep this one around though. Let's switch to my round nose pliers. Now I like to use my fingertip to measure how much wire I have left. You can use a measuring tool like a measuring tape or a ruler or something, but I know from experience that if I'm pinching the bead right here in my finger, pay attention to my fingers, not the beads. If I'm pinching it right here on my finger, this part of my finger where it gets to the base of my fingernail is about 1 centimeter. So 1 centimeter or 1/4 of an inch from the bend is where you want to cut. And again, if I'm doing a bunch of them, I'll just do the cut all at the same time so I don't have to switch out tools. And this really minimizes the amount of like wire wastage that you have. Like there was that little nibbly bit at the first, and then for each of these, it's about that much that's left. And I'm losing my bottom bead cap on this link. Come on, friend. All right. So I'm gonna roll this up using my round nose pliers. And I like round nose pliers because I can scooch it up or down the barrel depending on how much wire I have left before it gets there. Now these loops are not parallel. Do you see how they're turned like that? So I'm just going to grab both of the loops and straighten it out so that my loops on my link are parallel. And I'm just going to do the same thing to these other two. Just roll this up with my round nose pliers. Keep scooching until it's at the place I want it to be. Make sure my loops are parallel. Put this down. And one more. All right. Now I have one more link to make, and that is this Christmas tree, because the Christmas tree in this bracelet is going to be sitting between two of these links. And then I'm going to link each of these off to the sides, like so, to make my bracelet. So let's get a link with this one. And again, make sure I don't have kinks, because especially with a really long bead like this, there's not a lot of room for curvature inside of that hole. So I'm going to want this to be super smooth when I put it on there. Here we go. And I'm just going to use this because I want rolling it back around. This is another way of doing a simple loop. If you don't have a one-step looper, you just roll it back until it touches the back there. But you see how it's not balanced? It's over on one side of that. I'm going to come back in and just put the edge of my round nose plier against my wire, and then just give it a little, just a little curve like that. And that centers that wire. That's basically what I was doing inside the one-step looper when I was moving the wire, was straightening that out and making that little bend there so that it would be centered. Oop. I need a loop on the other side of my Christmas tree. All right, gonna bend that. Cut off all but 1 centimeter and roll this sucker up. And make sure that we are let's put this together. I'm going to swing open this loop that I just made. Using my pliers, I just twist it like that and attach one of my little charms. I'm using these charms as links. So I'm going to just put the loopy side here. And when I start attaching my other links, I'm going to be attaching them right here to the bottom of this because there's space there for the wire to go in. Alright, let's swing this open. Get this link attached. And I think some of these tools are a little bit in my way, so I'm going to move them. I'm going to move some of them. That one goes up there. So mostly what I'm going to be using are my chain nose pliers for opening and closing loops. And that's one of the reasons that I chose to do simple loops, is because it makes the construction and putting things together a little bit easier, because I can just swing these open, close them, add and remove links as I go. If it's too long, I can remove a link. If it needs more length, I can add a link. It makes it easy when you don't have a plan to feel like you have a plan. Go like that. And then I'm just going to build off of this one. Swing this open and add my hollyberry to my cranberry. Then I'm going to swing this one open and add a cranberry to my hollyberry. I'm going to swing this one open and add another hollyberry. Alright, now I'm going to stop on this side and start building out the other side, and then we're going to see how long it is after I do that and see whether I'm going to be adding any more of these links. So let's go through the other side, because I can always make more links, y'all. I have more beads. It's just not wide enough. It's this part, it's pretty thick, so you have to have that open wide enough so it'll go through. And then close it up. Right. Like that. And then our holly guy. Cranberry. And then another holly. Let's see how long this is, guys. I can definitely fit more links onto the ends of these chains. So let's add a couple more. Let's hold the end of this and the end of that, and that is going to be enough room for this to be able to close easily. So let's put a little ring on the other side for that to close into. It's just a little jump ring. To open and close jump rings, you want to hold one side steady while you twist it with the chain nose pliers. And then use that to link it together and then swing them closed. And you want to just make sure that both ends meet up flush, and then it's good. It's good, it's good, it's good. Let's do this one. Open it, attach it to the end here, and then close it. Make sure those ends meet up. All right. And now we have a bracelet to go with this necklace. Hooray! Let's move these two out of the way and work on these earrings. So we're going to be doing it just like this. All we're going to do is a link, and I'm going to stack these beads on some more of our wire, 20 gauge wire. And I'm just going to do simple loops because that's what I've been doing with these guys. So let's get all of these here in a row. I'm going to be adding it onto my charm at the end. So I'm just going to stack all of these onto the wire, make my first loop, cut it, make my second loop, and then open up that link, that loop, and attach the charm. So I'm just stacking them like that. I like to stack with like larger beads and then middle beads and then smaller beads. Sometimes you can have a lot of fun doing like a large, small, medium, or something else. Alternating the order that you put beads in, like varying on size, can be really, really fun. Can be a fun thing to do, especially like adding some things in between them. And you'll see that when we do our kind of doing the same thing with the other earring too. Large, medium, small, and then I've got some stuff in between them, just like with this one. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the other, where we are making a simple loop. Scooch it up, 1 finger width wide. And then for this one, I don't want my loops to be parallel. I want this loop to be perpendicular, so I'm going to hold it like this so that I can see this as a loop and not as a line, and push that away from me. I'm going to go ahead and measure myself a little 1 centimeter length. Roll that sucker up. Just roll it right up. Make sure that we are perpendicular. It's not quite, so I'm just going to twist it a little bit more to make sure that it makes a cross. It doesn't matter which way this tree is going. It can turn. I only care about the direction that these loops are facing. All right. I'm going to swing this open, put on my charm. I mentioned before that when I see or hear the word charm, I always think of What's Up Doc, that movie. And I watched it with my siblings, so they know what I'm talking about, charm. And my older brother was like, oh man, I wish we could watch that. And I looked and looked to see where I could find it streaming, and it wasn't anywhere that was streaming, but it was available for purchase at Amazon on their digital. And you know, sometimes if you purchase something from Amazon and you can wait a while, they'll be like, hey, get a $3 digital reward for, you know, waiting until Tuesday instead of getting it on Saturday. And so for things that I can wait, I have no problem doing that. But that meant that I had a bunch of those digital rewards that I kind of stacked up. So I was like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to buy What's Up Doc, and then you can watch it anytime you want. Barbra Streisand, Madeline Kahn, just so many fantastic comedic actors. That was a riot of a movie. Look at that. There we go. That set is complete. Let's move on to the other. Yep, there we go. Move these guys out of the way. All right, so for this, I am going to be mimicking the beading pattern for this. So let's get some of these out here. But instead of it, I could just do one that was just strung like this and it would be fine. But I want to have a focal. So I'm going to have my little disc here. And I'm going to take some of my beading wire. And I'm just gonna, there we go. Wrap it once. Overlap it a little bit so that there's room for crimping. I'm going to take it and fold it in half so I can find the middle. Cut that so there's my two ends of wire that I'm going to be using. So for this first end, I'm going to start by crimping it. Put on my crimp on my wire. I could wait until after I do my loop too, that would be fine. I'm going to go through the finding. Actually, let's go through these the leaf areas, because that's going to hold it in place and keep it from turning around while it's being worn. Go back through here. I'm going to scooch this pretty close up against here, like that. I want to make sure that there's enough room between the finding and the edge of the crimp so that I can get, just using my fingernail for that, so I can get my crimper down on it, because the crimper is one where you center this crimp in this concavity and give it a smush. And while, yeah, there's a little bit of space here, sometimes if it's too close to the bead or the finding, you can't get a good smush or you can't center it correctly. So I'm not pressing on it, I'm centering it, and now I'm going to press down, now that I made sure that there was some clearance, but not so much clearance that it's going to move. And when you do that first smush, it just turns it into like a little pillowcase ravioli thing, and these corners get smushed flat. Then you turn it to another angle, give it a smush, turn it to another angle, give it a smush, and just keep going around, smushing it from different directions, and it smooths out all of those little rough edges, and you get a nice little ball of crimp that is very secure. Like that. All right, now it's time to start stringing this. So I'm going to put on a spacer, 3 of these agate beads, 2, 3, a spacer, one of my big old dark beads, another spacer. Again, I'm just mimicking the beading pattern that I had already set up and established in the necklace. And then 3 more of these guys. Oh, I like that one. And another one of these. And this. And I think I want to make sure that this isn't going to be too long. I still have more beads that I could put on there, but I'm going to use a little bead stopper right now before crimping it, and start stringing and crimping the other side so that we can make sure that we're going to have a good length for this. So I'm going to crimp that one the same way. It'll be a little bit faster though, because I'm not going to talk you through it. I just want to make sure that I am doing this on exactly the opposite side. I think that's, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. I lost count. Let's use this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Ooh, so this one is exactly opposite. So maybe I'm going to do it there. They are not exactly opposite. They're just a little bit to the side. I'm going to say that is fine with me. Because it's close enough. Odd numbers. Let's start beading some more. There it is. It's like, where's my third one? There we go. I need more spacers. All right, let's see how long that is. Oh, that is just about the perfect length, actually. I'm just going to put one more of these on each end and call that good. Okay, so I'm putting on my crimp. I'm going to put on the ring for my toggle clasp. Back that up and put it through the crimp. Tighten this bit up just a little bit, but not so much that I can't crimp it. So I will crimp right onto the ring part of a toggle clasp, but I like to just have a loop and use a jump ring for the toggle part of a toggle clasp. So I'm going to just make a loop on this side, but first I'm going to put this one on because remember we were adding these. No need to yell at me, guys. I'm going to put this through, turn it around. Maybe. And I just want a loop in my wire to attach a jump ring to. I could loop it through a jump ring, or I could just, whoop, that's too loose. There we go. That's good, good, good. All right. And that I was just kind of wiggling it because it was too close to the bead, and I wanted it a little bit further away before smushing it. So I wasn't pressing down with it, I was just moving the crimper, the side of the crimper between the crimp and that bead, because you want it centered. It's one of the tips to make it work. Alright, now let's get a jump ring. Attach this guy. Alright. There we go. Oop, where are you going, buddy? Stay closed. So there we go. I really like the circle as like sort of a repetitive motif in this box. It really is kind of cool, like a wreath. Alright, let's finish up with an earring. It's going to be a super simple earring. I'm not going to do any drops or anything like that, or any dangles. All we're going to do is stack some beads on a head pin with some spacers. That's all we're doing with this. So I'm going to grab my little head pin, start with this mermaid bead, miracle bead, however you call it, and then a spacer, and my dark large round, and a spacer, and my frosty guy, just like that. Really easy, really simple. And now you can use a pair of pliers to bend right here at the top. Generally, when you've got kind of a harder wire like this, I will suggest using pliers rather than your fingers, or you know, you can live dangerously and just hope you don't break any of the beads when you're doing that, like I did. Then you want to go ahead and measure out your 1 centimeter. And with this type of wire too, it will go flying when I do it, but there's not really enough for me to grab onto. So a little tip is, if there's not enough wire for you to grab onto and you don't want it to go flying, tip it down towards your mat and the mat will catch it for you. Super, super easy little tip. When you are cutting off the end of your wire, there wasn't enough for me to grab onto, but that's okay. We still controlled our wire. Remember, you are in control of your wire. It is not in control of you. That's what I like to tell myself. And then I just make another little simple loop, scooch my ear wire onto it, close that up, and I've got another pair of earrings. I'm going to zoom out so we can take another look at the whole thing. I have earrings and I have bracelets. Let's get these earrings that we just made out. And they go with, where'd my bracelet go? They go with these designs that I made the other day. Well, the other night. It was a late night beading with Beki sort of situation. From the Bargain Bead Box and from the companion bundle from Bead Box Bargains. All right, I'm going to put links to this video. I'm going to put links to the unboxings for both of these into the description below. I'll put links to my review for the one-step loopers if you are interested in watching that, and links to some of the materials that I've been using. Anyway, I hope you're having a fantastic weekend, and I will catch up with you later. Happy beading!